place in my heart, but it also has a special place in St. Landry's tourism's heart because it's by parish. So Bayou Fusion Lake, Bayou Teche is the cutoff point. So they get the best of both worlds. They get the best of what I have to offer and the best of what Celeste has to offer. We're also a big part of Bayou Teche Corridor, and you'll be hearing a lot about it later in the day because it kind of ties in everything that we tend to do. So it'll be St. Landry, St. Martin, Iberia, and St. Mary. We market together, we promote together, we do projects together. So that's gonna, we'll talk in and out of the guest speakers. I'm gonna introduce Celeste, who's gonna give you the definition of creative placemaking.
No, en français. Good morning. Well, thank y'all for being here this morning. I'm going to strangle myself with it. As Donna mentioned, I'm her peer in St. Landry Parish with the Office of Tourism Commission office in St. Landry Parish. And we want to thank everybody for being on this side of Arnaudville today. We're in St. Landry, right? Okay, yeah. Across the way, St. Martin, okay. But we don't tell anybody. See, we do on that, we go on the address deal. Right, today, our objective today is, our overall theme is sustaining authenticity in tourism. And Donna and I both have done over the years realize that that's what makes this area so unique, is about the things that happen here organically. It's not anything that's made or fabricated. It's what we are, it's who we are. And so our job is, our job is, our goal is not to screw that up. We wanted to remain authentic. You know, we wanted to stay real because we understand that's what a traveler comes to this area to experience. So when you talk about creative placemaking, and for some of that, I know for me, it was a difficult concept to wrap my head around. What is creative placemaking? Well, what it is that you're going to bring partners together, whether they be from the public sector, nonprofits, we have different governmental agencies, and it's about thinking out of the box and for them to come together and strategically plan and create and shape a community that improves your quality of life. And when you do that, it also improves the product that you're going to present to visitors or tourists alike. So today, that's where we've brought together what we think are some very unique opportunities about our parishes and what we have to offer, and we're going to share those with you today. But this morning, we want to start out, we're very honored to have with us a great friend of tourism, a great friend of St. Martin and St. Landry parishes, and I should say for the whole state. But we have with us the Secretary of Tourism, Mr. Kyle Edmondson. And Kyle is going to share with us some of the great news that's coming out of the Office of Tourism. Hopefully you're all in our email database and you're going to see what's been happening and what's come out of the Office of Tourism within the last couple of days with great news. It's a result of great work by a great team. And I'm proud to say that we're part of that team. And we're really glad to have Kyle with us this morning to represent the Lieutenant Governor. So Kyle, you want to jump on up?
Yeah, I'm going to try not to choke myself this morning with this. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Celeste, for inviting me to be here and participate in this. It's very exciting to speak for a few minutes, but then I'm going to more enjoy what the panelists have to say, so I won't spend a whole lot of time speaking to you this morning, but I did want to cover a couple things because, as Celeste noted, we did have some very exciting news come out of the Office of Tourism announced by Lieutenant Governor Nungesser this past week. For the 5th consecutive year, Louisiana welcomed more visitors to the state than any time in our history. This past year in 2016, we hosted 46.7 million visitors. They spent $16.8 billion, and generated $1.04 billion in state general fund dollars. So as you hear all of the news in Baton Rouge, about budgets and lack of general fund dollars and the things that our legislators are dealing with right now, the tourism, the creative economy put $1.04 billion in for them to use for other purposes for the state. That saved each one of us, Louisiana taxpayers, every Louisiana citizen saved $601 because of the efforts of the tourism industry as a whole. So that's, yes. So obviously that speaks to the importance of tourism, both from a geographic sense, but also from an economic sense. And so one of the things that they asked me to speak about for a few minutes today, though, is our efforts in the international market. Over the last 5 years, we have really intensified our focus and our efforts on bringing more international visitors to Louisiana. As you can imagine, the international visitor stays longer and spends more money. On average, when they come to the United States, an international visitor will stay anywhere from 12 to 15 days. Not necessarily all in Louisiana, but 12 to 15 days, and spend on the average of about $5,000 per person per trip. Again, for many, this is an aspirational trip that they've been waiting and saving their whole life for. And whether they're from Canada, from France, Germany, or our newest big venture, China, they all love the authenticity that we offer in Louisiana. They love the way that we've preserved our history, whether it's the architecture in the French Quarter, to a plantation, to a farm, to cotton farming, to the swamps where they can do the different paddles, the Bayou Teche area. Everything about Louisiana speaks to the authentic nature that we have. We're not Orlando. This is not Disney that we're sitting in this morning or any other time. We didn't create this from somewhere else. This is who we are as a people and how we live. And so on the international side, in 2013, we were the #1 state in percentage increase for international visitors to the United States. In 2015, we had a 38% increase, and that was the #2 state in the United States. Of course, just recently, you've seen the announcement about the new international direct flights into New Orleans. We had British Airways started direct into New Orleans out of London Heathrow in March, and then coming in May, Condor Air will be direct out of Frankfurt, Germany into New Orleans in Louisiana. What this means for us is 75,000 seats per year direct access into Louisiana. And if you've ever come through customs in Atlanta or JFK, you'll know that coming through customs in New Orleans is much easier than those markets. And so the connections that we make all across Europe and the world are going to bring additional visitors to us that then we have to get out of the New Orleans airport and around the state. And again, that's what our focus is not just to get them into Louisiana, it's to get them around Louisiana. But it's a whole lot easier when they're coming directly to us. Now, interestingly enough, on the very first flight, BA flew into New Orleans, and our team was there to meet them, and they visited with them. There were 13 countries represented when they got off the first flight. So again, when you think about the BA flight and you think about United Kingdom or London, England, that's not who we're just getting here. We're getting people from all over Europe that are connecting through London Heathrow and want to come visit Louisiana. So we really got a foothold there. They announced when they landed that they were going from 4 days a week to 5 days a week. It's the first time in BA's history that they've extended a route before they actually flew that route. So obviously the sales are going very well. That just increased again the number of seats into Louisiana that we can have. And certainly increases our focus of how we can get them here, because it's not very far from there to here. And so we're going to work with our CVBs, our partners, and everyone in our state to move these visitors around our state and try to get them to see all the different things that we have to offer, because every community has something special. And the last thing I'll end with is a new program that we're starting. In fact, Iberia Parish will be the first that is a participant in Destination Louisiana. Lieutenant Governor Nungesser has started this program to encourage each of us to visit our own state. And again, you hear other terms like staycation or be a visitor in your own city, be a visitor in your own state. And so we're going to highlight over the next 30 months a different destination each month, and we'll move it around the state, but it'll give everyone in the state a chance to go and visit and see some of the special things that we know, since we're in the tourism industry, about those destinations, but that some of the other citizens in Louisiana might not know. And so we'll be trying to move people from the north to the south, from the east to the west, but just to get people to move around the state and enjoy some of the great treasures that we have right here within the state. And with that, Celeste, that kind of will wrap up my remarks. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm more interested in hearing what all these great placemakers have in front of us today.
Do you want to maybe share a little bit about the recent sales mission to France?
Yeah, well, we'll do both.
Okay.
Because we have a recent sales mission to France that we did in late January, early February. The Lieutenant Governor led the mission over there. It was 25 participants, including 3 state senators, went with us. We spent 3 days meeting with tour operators, travel agents, and media in Paris, and then we spent 1 day in Lyon. Of course, we have an agency there, Express Consul, that's been representing Louisiana for over 24 years. So they definitely know their way around. Marina has Dupuy Wed has been to all parts of Louisiana, and they do just a fabulous job. And like I said, we went over there and really tried to generate some interest in coming and visiting the state, and really had a great reception while we were there. This coming July, the Lieutenant Governor will be taking a mission to Quebec City and Montreal. We'll be there July 16 through 19, at the same time that the network of Francophone and Francophile communities is having their conference. They just recently had that last October here in Lafayette. They're having that in Quebec City, and so we'll be there at the same time as the mayors and all of the conference networking opportunities are going along. So both of those missions, we also will be doing a mission to UK and Germany to again promote coming on the flight. So as you can see, the Lieutenant Governor has definitely jumped in with both feet. If you're looking for him, you're going to have to find him on the map, because he is either traveling the state or the world promoting coming to Louisiana and spending your time and your money while you're here.
Of the state marketing internationally comes home to us. Last week, I was at the Burbridge Tourist Center, I think on Tuesday, and everyone that morning was from France, Germany, Sweden, or Barcelona. There were no Americans. And there was about 50 people. It was like 5 different groups, I think, from France that came in. So that's the impact of the great marketing that the state does, because, I mean, I'm a little budget. I can't do that. You know, I can't market internationally, and we rely on the state to do our marketing for us. So just wanted to give a perspective on where it impacts locally. So they are here.
Thanks, Donna. Very good. Thank you, Kyle. Again, we appreciate you. You know, Kyle comes from Ruston. So he was the director of the CBB there in Ruston. So he's from a small rural, larger than ours, but rural setting. And, you know, he's implemented creative placemaking and a lot of practices that they've done there in Ruston. You know, we all know they're branded for the Peach Festival. They use a local crop, you see, to really build their brand. So it's happening all over. We just didn't have that name, I guess, in the beginning, but so he knows where we're coming from, and I just want to thank him for all that he does. He represents our state really well on a national level with USA brand, and brings a lot of great attention to the state of Louisiana, and we're grateful for that. And I mentioned earlier, okay, what the definition, we talked about creative placemaking, but I guess the big emphasis that I didn't share is that when you bring all these different groups together, the focus is to be on arts and culture. And how do you utilize that to really develop your product? So this morning, we'll introduce you. I'm just going to go through and introduce the members of our panel. Then we're going to go through each one, and they're going to share with you what they bring to the table. This morning, we're happy to have Miss Dory Janice. Dory is the coordinator of the Sunset Rub Board's Public Arts Project. Dory's from Sunset. Thank you, Dory. And she's joined by T-Don Landry, who is the owner of the Key of Z Rub Boards. So they'll be doing a team presentation on the project there in Sunset. We have another team effort this morning. We have Sister Lucy Nordman, who is the Director of Institutional Advancement for the Schools of the Sacred Heart in Grancato, and she's joined by Sister Barbara Morrow. Sister Barbara takes care, she's the head of tourism, per se, for the School of the Sacred Heart. We also have this morning Dane Thibodeau. Dane is a board member and involved with the TESH project, and he's going to share more about that with us as is during our conversation. And we also have, you may have picked up a little handout, we're going to skip a little bit. We have Chef Maureen Little. Chef Maureen is the owner and executive chef of Virtual Bistro Catering. So we welcome Chef Maureen. And then lastly we have Brandon Bollinger. Okay, and this is French week, so we have to practice. He is joining us today. Brandon is an artist, but he's also a biologist, and he's an environmental educator, and he's now based in Louisiana. And I think you'll find it very interesting. His work is phenomenal, but how he's combined the two and what he does, and he's going to present a special project with us this morning. So, do we have any questions before going on this morning? We want to interpret. I think everyone on the panel actually does speak a little French. I think they're all, yes. I know, but we're going to do it, but I think we're fine. And we're going to go with this. Okay, so let's start, we'll get started. First, we're going to start out, today we're going to share with you two different types of tourism. You know, we talk about tourism with its different facets, I guess, or I don't want to say genres, but different niche markets that we cater to and things that we stress. And so the first topic or area of tourism that we're going to be focusing on is cultural tourism. And when you speak of cultural tourism, that encompasses music and art. And I think when we talk about, we'll know more about the Sunset Project and what they've done, you'll see how it's a great marriage of art and music and how they utilize that for their creative placemaking. Okay, we mentioned that Dory Janice is from Sunset, and she's been the mover and shaker behind this whole effort. But Dory, in her private life, she and her husband, Dwayne, have the Janice's supermarket in Sunset. And when you think about a supermarket in small communities, that's really the hotbed and where a lot of stuff happens in a community. People go there, of course they grocery shop, but that's where they visit. A lot of times that's where you catch up on the news of what's happening. You can also find other things. And we're glad to say in this particular grocery store, you can also buy a rub board, which I think that's going to be pretty unusual and unique for areas. She's also served on the St. Landry Chamber of Commerce, and Dory is also helping to revitalize the Sunset Mardi Gras Association with their parade, and it was very successful this year. And T-Don, I'll tell you a little bit about him. Well, T-Don's father was Mr. Willie Landry. He was a metal craftsman, and it happened that he was a partner, worked together with the great Clifton Chenier, right? They were workmates. And it was because of T-Don's father, he created the first metal rub board that was used solely as a musical instrument back in 1946. That's pretty cool. And so T-Don has continued that trade and has the business of the Key of Z rub boards. And we're really excited to know that we're going to find out more that one of those rub boards is actually in the Smithsonian Institute. He's most recently, they did some filming at your shop, I believe, for the show in Sunset for Handcrafted America. He's a member of the Louisiana Crafts Guild and the Louisiana Division of the Arts. So we welcome both of you this morning, and we're going to let you have a mic. I think both of these mics are live, correct? This is a good one. Yeah. Get up if y'all want to. Okay, 3. Yeah. Got it. Right. Well, we're just going to start this conversation this morning, and Dory, I guess we'll start with you, and tell us, how did you start that? How did the project about the rub board project in Sunset begin?
Well, I was talking to Mr. Tony Davra. He is also known as the Irish guy, and we're talking about branding Sunset. And he said, "Why don't you make Sunset the rub board capital of the world? We have the manufacturer right here in Sunset." And I said, "That's a great idea. We need to grow Sunset." So I contacted our senator, Mr. Guillory, and our representative. We made a wonderful trip to the Capitol. We brought the rub boards, we played for them, and yes, the resolution was signed. And that's how Sunset became the rub board capital of the world.
Yeah, very good. So, see, she took a creative idea and something that was unique to her area. Well, great. And then, so now, how'd you get T-Don involved?
T-Don he's the manufacturer. We can't have it without T-Don. He makes those beautiful frottoirs. We call it rub board, frottoir. The word is interchangeable. But believe me, we all know what a frottoir is, because I even used it with my mom on a brush board. But this is a musical instrument, and I really enjoy it. In fact, T-Don gave me one at the Capitol, a girl frottoir, and I treasure it.
Great. Well, T-Don, why don't you tell us about how you've kept on this tradition of rub board making?
Well, I was always interested in the rub board. Since I was a little kid, I used to watch, every Saturday they had a program called the Bon Relay. Clifton Shear's band would play, so I was fascinated by Cleveland's playing, and I've been a musician all my life. I played drums when I was a kid and stuff like that, but I always wanted to play rub board. And I didn't know this story about my father until later on in life, and I rented the video from the library in Lafayette, and they had the story about interviewing Clifton and stuff like that, and he started explaining what happened when he met the guy at the refinery, and he asked my dad if he could make this, and he drew a design on the dirt. And he said, "Yeah," he said, "I can make anything you want." And so that was the first rub board ever made with the shoulder straps. That was in 1946 in Port Arthur, Texas. So I'm watching this film, it's like, wait a minute, I was born in Port Arthur. And my father worked at the refineries, and a lot of Cajuns from Louisiana moved there for work. And my father had been deceased, so I was talking to my mother about it, the video, and she said, "Well, Dona, was your daddy?" It was no big thing, it was 1946, it was made out of tin. So Clifton and Cleveland, I mean, they were just young men just starting out. So anyway, getting back to the story, and then I started playing rub board, and then I started making rub boards. And it started off as part-time because I had another business. And then I sold that, and now it's all I stay in. I got a 10 by 10 shop. I gotta walk outside to change them on. It's too small. It's a little bitty thing, and so that's what I do all day long. Just stay there and bend metal and ship them all over the world.
That is it's amazing. You want to grab it and show it to them? I see you brought a couple in with you. That's okay, yeah. Are you using the same, well, I'm sure you've improved, but the material that your dad used, is it the same?
No.
Okay. Maybe Dory, you can hold on.
Well, this is they all stainless steel now, But back in the day, they were tin.
Okay.
So this is one of my full-size boards. This one I got ready for Festival International coming up, so this one will be going somewhere. God knows where. But this is the large board. I put the trim on, make them a little bit more comfortable. And so I have the material cut out for me now. All of this, the thing cut out for me, laser cut, because I used to do it by hand, snips,
Crimp,
but it's, I make too many now to do that. So,
mass production.
so I have these, and then I designed these small ones. I have a provisional patent of these. I put the colors on them now.
Oh, neat.
So this is red and white. And then I can put your name at the bottom or your business name. I have red and white. I have purple and gold, black and gold.
Customized.
These, yeah, different colors. This is the gator print.
Cute. So what do you use? I see you have, what are the instruments that you use to rub it with?
That's the regular paint can openers.
It's paint can openers. That's pretty creative.
Do you raid Lowe's and Home Depot once a week? And I need to buy 5 gallons of paint.
Actually, I order them by the cases, 500 in a case, and then they stamp a logo on there. So you can play your rub board and you can open your beer all at the same time.
I love it.
Always thinking,
That's right.
And you
And you paint.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So I designed a small one for, because people fly in from all over the world at these festivals, and a lot of them they don't want to carry it back. So either they'll take a car and they'll order it when they get home, or get a small one and you can just carry it, wear it all day long, or just put it in your suitcase.
Right. Metal detectors go off.
Yep.
That's good. So, well, tell us some of the people that actually own your rub boards. Who's bought them from you?
Oh man, I have entertainers at Rihanna. They ordered 12 from me.
Rihanna.
She used them on her tour, and then they sent me a DVD of it so I could see, and I was in the credits and everything. So that was pretty cool. And Kid Rock was the latest one, and ZZ Top ordered a bunch from me. I love it. His drummer, just a bunch. All the Zydeco bands around here pretty much play on boards.
It's so neat when you hear your somebody playing music with your rub board, and that's so it's so unique. Okay, that's an authentic sound. You're not going to find that any other place in the world, and so you're contributing to that authenticity of St. Landry Parish. That's really cool. And
We all
tourism.
number
Yeah.
it was made, and everything else.
And being a very talented artist, they really are beautiful too.
Thank you.
So it's great. So he's combined the two.
Yep.
So that's very creative. Good. And tell me, you have one in the Smithsonian. How did that happen?
I have 3 or 4 in the Smithsonian.
Okay.
And my wife and my grandson in his class, this was about 10 years ago, they went to Washington. And so she contacted me at a time, and they took the display out. But nobody could touch it. I mean, they were using gloves to handle this stuff. So my grandson was the king of the class, So that was pretty cool. So they got to see it.
Great.
And I have them there. I have them in the musical instrument museum in Arizona. I have them in the Gulf Coast Museum in Port Arthur, and museums all over the world.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right. Carrying that tradition through. Well, and for those, I found this was an interesting note that the rub board is it's one of a few musical instruments that was invented entirely in the United States. So that's a little tidbit that we should be proud of and know of. Well, thank you so much. We're so glad that you're here. Now we're going to be listening to all the music, and every time we hear a rub board in there, we're going to think of you and say, we know where that started. We know where you came from. And Dory, let's go back just to talk a little bit more about the project. So you're going to do public art. You're having someone make life-size rub boards?
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. That's a long-coming project of mine. We're building a rub board. It's 4 by 6. It's going to be, we're going to put it in concrete in Sunset. We're at the stage where we're getting the state to approve the rub board, you have to give them longitude, latitude, a shop's drawing on how tall is it, how big is it for the bulbs and the size of the pole. We're going to landscape it, and we're going to make Sunset pretty unique with the rub board. And hopefully, and there are some businesses that have joined in, and they're making their own rub board, and they're displaying it outside. And you have the option to display it inside or outside. But once I get the big one out there, I really think it'll catch on, and Sunset will truly display that we are the rub board capital of the world.
Is it going to be like the Pelicans? And
Yes, exactly. That's exactly where the idea came from. Because of T-Don and the rub board, you have to capitalize where you can. And that was a really, really good thing that we have T-Don in Sunset.
Very good. Really, that's creative placemaking, everybody. That's it. Thank y'all for being here. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing you at the great work. We know that our French word of this session was courtois, which means to rub. Okay, we're going to have a French word every time we leave. So, all right. Next, we're talking about another aspect. It's called heritage tourism. And what this means is that people that travel to experience the places, artifacts, and activities that authentically represent the stories and people of the past. And what better than a site of a documented miracle that is recognized by the Catholic Church on the grounds of the oldest continuously running school in the United States. It's part of the system of the Sacred Heart of the Sacred School of the Sacred Heart. And we have that right here, just 7 miles north in Grand Coteau, Louisiana. So what better example of heritage tourism could you ask for than that? And this morning we're really pleased to have two of the nuns, two of the sisters that are involved with that effort now. I'm going to switch over and yell a couple of mics. And we're going to give you a little background about the sisters that are here representing the Schools of the Sacred Heart. And that's kind of been an adjustment for us. We're always referring to it as the Academy of the Sacred Heart. But now there's not only a girls' campus there, but also for boys. So now they've officially changed their name to be more inclusive. Well, this morning we have Sister Lucy Nordman. Sister is a native of St. Louis, Missouri, and she entered the Society of the Sacred Heart in 1961. Over the course of her teaching career, Sister has been assigned to schools of the Sacred Heart in St. Louis, Houston, Texas, and Albany, right? I think I've got all of them. She first taught in Grand Coteau for a year back in 1965 to 66, and she returned.
I was only 5 years old then.
That's right. She was. And she returned in 1975 through 82, where she served as a principal of the boarding schools and the day schools as well. She's also served as Director of Development at Lydia's House, which is very interesting. It's a transitional shelter for women and children and who've experienced abuse, and as a patient advocate at St. Luke's Hospital. She's currently serving the Schools of the Sacred Heart as the Director of Development, and I'm cheating on my list. And we're glad to have you here, Sister. I know that's your biggest role now with you, as I mentioned earlier. She's with the Development of Schools at Sacred Heart. Sister Barbara Morrow also is a native of New Orleans, and she too joined the Society of Sacred Heart in 1960. Is that right, or 61? 62, okay. She's served in schools in Missouri as a teacher, dean of students, and director of boarding schools in Grand Coteau. And she's also served at the Center of Educational Design and Communications in Washington, D.C. That must have been a very interesting stint. She's also served as director of hospitality at the former United States province from 2010 to 2014. And she returned to Grand Coteau, and it was in 2015? 13. Okay. And now she's a special assistant to the head of schools, and she is the one that leads the tours of the shrine there of St. John Birchman, which is located on the campus of Grand Coteau. So again, we're happy to have you here, and I love this part. She's a master of Cajun cooking and storytelling. Yes, she is. That's great. I love that part in the bio. So you're both, I know I left off your title in my notes and in my itinerary. You're both religious of Sacré-Cœur de Jesus. Say it in the, use the microphone.
Religious de Sacré-Cœur de Jésus.
Okay, so there's your French words for this section. Yes, the Sacred Heart. How about
Religious
that?
of the Sacred Heart of
Religious
Jesus.
The Sacred Heart of Jesus.
But
Sacré-Cœur.
our initials are RSCJ, which would be the French. In English, you would say, why is it SH instead of RSCJ? So that's because we were founded in France.
There you go. So they keep that in their title, which is very interesting. Good. So Sister Lucy, you want to give us a little background about the history, a little bit of the Academy and the site, for those that do not know?
Happily. First of all, let me just ask if you would raise your hand if you've ever been on the campus before. Quite a few of you, so it's not totally new to you. So we have been there for the past 196 years. 1821 we began the school. And at that time, it was all girls. And at that time, until the 1970s, we, the religious, were cloistered. Now, how many of you know what that means? It means that we never left the campus. Okay? We were great educators, have been for 200 years, and yet we had never gone beyond our backyard, so to speak. So we started with the girls' school, and in 2006, the Board of Trustees decided to open a boys' school on the campus. So it's Berkman's Academy of the Sacred Heart. You'll hear more from Sister Moore about who this guy is called John Berkman's. And we have had 2 graduating classes so far. This year will be our 3rd. And so we have a wonderful group. So first and foremost, we're an educational institution, a very significant institution with great success with our students going on to make huge differences in the world. I could talk forever just about the school, but that's not what we're really here for. But I did put what we call our view book on the back table, if you're interested, just to page through it and just get some feel for what life is like there for both the girls and the boys. If you open the book one way, you get all about the girls. If you turn it over, you get all about the boys. And if you open it as it was on the table when I left it there, it shows you the boys and the girls together. So it's wonderful. And the reason that is that we believe that girls learn best with girls and boys learn best with boys, and that we know how to teach boys, unlike a lot of co-ed schools, because boys need to have a lot of activity, right guys? A lot of physical movement, and etc. So we do that quite well, from 3-year-olds to 12th grade for both the girls and the boys. So 1821. And at this point, I share with you too that we have evolved our boarding school over the years. The numbers have been 100 at a time. Back when I was there, both of us were there back in the 70s and 80s. Our boarding school is smaller now, but it's international. It's more international than ever. We used to have primarily Mexico and Latin America. The political scene in Latin America changed dramatically, as you may remember back a few years. And so we don't draw from that area, but now we have China, Japan, and Korea represented in the boarding school. I will also mention that we have a rather unique program, especially for high school students, and that is our exchange program. Celeste mentioned that we are the oldest continuous existing Sacred Heart School in the United States. It's not just the United States, it's the whole entire world, where we are in 40 different countries. Because the first one that really began closed for a while. So officially, They began earlier, but we lasted longer. And so the exchange program allows our students to visit Sacred Heart schools nationally and or internationally for a variety of time periods. We especially want to focus on our students that we've been having for the last maybe 4 years in a row from our school in Nantes, France. And so they come to us and our students go over there to them and spend time. So it's an incredible opportunity. Our kids have also gone to places like our school in Spain or in Australia, etc., a variety of countries. So let me move from the school, which is dear and near to our hearts, but talk a little bit more about the opportunities for tourism. As I said, because we were cloistered, we did not have real tours of the campus unless you were looking at the school as a prospective parent or student. And then, of course, you had the tours of the school to get to know us. But after that time period, then we began to really give the tour about the shrine. Sister Moore will be telling you more about that. And we really have had a variety of tours from all over. There are days when she doesn't get to sleep because there's so many tours going on. But it's national tours, it's international tours, it's backyard people. I will speak about one event and then turn it over to Sister Morrow. On December the 14th, this past December, we celebrated the 150th anniversary of the miracle that Celeste alluded to. And why that's important to this group today is that we drew that day, our best guess was we had at least 2,000 tourists that day. Pretty phenomenal for us, especially. We've never had quite that large a group. But it was an exciting, wonderful day to share who we are with a wider community. It's not unusual to have a busload of, 40, 50 people, but to have 2,000 was quite unique for us and exciting. Your question earlier was how did we ever plan for this? Well, we planned, all right. And the thing that was really touching was the number of people who commented how organized everything was. So you never felt like you were waiting in line forever, even though some of them did wait, but they didn't have to stand or we had a plan already worked out. And so the comment was just an extraordinary experience for these people who were on the campus, some for the first time, some certainly not for the first time, to have experienced what we consider holy, sacred ground on our campus. We had the pleasure of meeting with some other folks who are sitting at the table as well about tourism there, and the interest that seems to be coming to the fore about having tours that are faith-based tours. And so the shrine in particular on the campus is a golden opportunity for people who are interested in any kind of a faith-based tour. It is holy ground. Not too many people can say they have space where not just one, but two saints have walked the grounds. The second saint is the first religious of the Sacred Heart who came from France to bring the Society of the Sacred Heart to the United States and came and visited us in Grand Coteau in the mid-1800s. And that is one of our religious who also is a canonized saint, St. Rose Philippine Duchenne. She was canonized in 1989 in Rome. I think I'll stop talking because I want you to hear more about the shrine, and here's the queen of the shrine.
Thank you.
Well, the shrine, as we call it today, of St. John Berkman's, and I'm saying Berkman's, and most people around here pronounce it as it's spelled, Birchman's. But when we started the boys' school in 2006, we asked the Jesuits what was the correct pronunciation, because John Berkman's was from Dietz, Belgium, which is in the Flemish part, is really pronounced Berkmans. So both are acceptable, but that's why you'll say Berkman's. And So it's okay. Obviously, the room that we're talking about is the shrine is on the second floor of our, what was back then the convent. And as Sister said, that's why after the miracle, we couldn't invite visitors up. But to back up a little bit, in 1866, at that time, the present shrine was our infirmary. And at that time, a young woman by the name of Mary Wilson had entered with us. Mary was from Canada. Her family were Presbyterians. She went with her family, some of her family, to St. Louis. And while there, she met a young Catholic woman who invited her to Mass. She went, and the Mass so moved her that she eventually asked the Jesuit to help her to become a Catholic. After that, she felt she had a religious vocation. And so we had a school not too far from there, and she entered with us. But when she told her family that she was of her plans to become a Catholic, they said if she did, they would never speak to her again. And that's actually what happened. So after she entered, she got very sick, so they sent her to us. But by December of 1866, she basically was dying. Today, the diagnosis would be some sort of cancer. And the two doctors who were treating her felt that nothing they were doing was helping her. So that's when the nuns, probably by the instigation of the Jesuits, encouraged us to make the novena to Blessed John Bertram's, which means in the Catholic Church you have two miracles for the cause of his canonization. And so the nuns began the novena on the morning of December 14th. Mary was in the shrine, in the infirmary, and everyone else was downstairs for Mass. And she was so suffering, she hadn't eaten for several weeks, and she just asked God to give her some relief. This is an interesting point. This is a young woman in her early 20s. John Bertram's lived in the early 17th century, so in the 19th century, he died in his early 20s before he could become a Jesuit. And she says to John Bertram's, if you don't help me, I won't believe in you. And I think that's a pretty powerful statement. So at some point she said she felt someone touch her on the mouth. And she opened her eyes and she saw someone at the foot of the bed. And she said, are you John Bertram's? And the response was yes. God has heard your prayer. Your sufferings were over. And at that moment, no sign of her illness remained. Now afterwards, her mother came up thinking that Mary was either dead or in a coma, and to her surprise, she's sitting on the side of the bed asking for something to eat. So the next day, they let her go downstairs, and one of the doctors came to check up on her. And when he saw her, he couldn't believe it was the same person. And after he examined her, he told her mother he had no explanation for her present condition. And he said, nothing we did could have made this happen. So Mary got the habit as a novice, and I think at that time was when she said something to Reverend Mother. And Reverend Mother only told a few of our community and a couple of the Jesuits, who immediately asked her to start writing her autobiography and to try to explain what had happened to her. So several weeks later, John Bertram's appeared again and told her that although God was basically pleased with her fidelity to her religious life, that she wouldn't live to make her first vows, which for us takes 2 years. All Mary said was, will it be soon or later? And his response was soon. In August of 1867, Mary fainted after Mass. They brought her upstairs to the infirmary, where she went into a coma and died a couple of days later of a cerebral hemorrhage. So the problem for the Jesuits was, how do we present this cause for canonization if this young woman is cured but dies within 7 months? But the Bishop of New Orleans gave them permission to proceed with the cause. The bishop sent the information on to Rome, where it was accepted as the third miracle for his canonization. He was canonized in 1888. In the Catholic Church, he's patron saint of altar servers. And accepting the miracle and the apparition, the Church accepted the miracle and the apparition. And to date, in the United States, it's the only place that a shrine has been established where the miracle took place and the apparition. And as Sister said, we celebrated that anniversary, last 150th anniversary last December 14th. And as part of that celebration, Because John Berkman's died in his early 20s also, back then, they actually did an autopsy, and his heart was given to the Jesuit community, and it's been in Belgium ever since. But for this occasion, they did allow a Jesuit to bring it to the United States. It went to the Cathedral of John Berkman's in Shreveport for several days, and it came to us on that December 14th. The sister said, sometimes people call and they ask for a tour, and they don't distinguish between whether they want to apply for the school or for the shrine. I do it by appointment because I do other things and I'm not always on campus, but I try to make myself available as often as possible. We have tours. I had one from North Carolina, arranged by Alonzo Lafayette. Had student tours from Shreveport, some of the schools in Lafayette. I have other bus tours coming from either the New Orleans area or the Houma area. So obviously we don't advertise per se. It's always kind of been by word of mouth. So that's sort of our sharing the spiritual heritage of South Louisiana.
And then basically, that's a 12-month opportunity. I mean, it's not like just one day a week or something like that. So it's just a matter of making that phone call to set up a time and a date. When you were talking at the beginning about authenticity, I can't think of a more authentic place than our wonderful campus, including the shrine.
Thank you. I agree. You see, thank y'all both for being here. This is great. I think, as the years have evolved, we can talk about some of the instances or situations with, maybe some hesitancy in opening the school for tours, because we understand safety of the students is first and foremost. A lot of things changed. Sister Barbara, we've been at it for a while, but, after 9/11, everybody took a different look at things. So you weren't so much of the walk-ups, but it was more by appointment. But it made me think, we've been fighting that battle. That's been going on since the Civil War, because that was always this part of the story, that why it was continuously running, because it never stopped. They never stopped teaching. Even during the Civil War, the classes continued because of the relationship, because there were schools up in the north, and their kids went to those same schools.
Yes, alluding to that, when the Union forces came down to the Sunset Rangato area, the Union General Nathaniel Banks came onto the property to speak to Reverend Mother. And as Providence would have it, his daughter was at Sacred Heart in New York. And so he provided food for us and for the Jesuits and protected our property the whole time they were in the Rangato Sunset area. And we have a copy in our museum. I forgot to mention, we also have a small museum that kind of some of the things referring to our life, but for instance, we have a cypress desk that was actually Philippine Duchenne's desk when she visited, and the copy of the letter where he gave an order to his men that they would not to harm anyone or destroy any of the property, or he would have them put to death. So God's providence has spared us many times, and we, of course, are eternally grateful. And we're happy to be able to share that with any of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And, so again, just knowing that the door has opened, and now that they've experienced the success, which it was a huge success, and they did a great job, and you think about how do you move, people from point A to point B and keep them where they're not feeling, it's a long way. You did a superb job, and I really think now the Academy sees the potential that we can really build upon and develop more about this faith-based tourism, because it's so rich and such a. And I want to thank Charlie for being here. Charlie's with Louisiana Travel Promotion Association. They're our state tourism group that we all belong to with our industry, over 800 plus probably members now, and a big voice for Louisiana. They do a great job developing shows and things. And they've been coming quite often, having some conversations with the folks, Sister and see how we can assist and build upon this whole idea, because it's definitely a need here. You know, we talk about Francophonie, not only the academy, the churches, the architecture, that's what people are looking for, that's the culture, you know, the artwork that's there, just those things that, again, make it so authentic, and it's right here. So I encourage you to stop if you've not done so. But we want to thank you both for being here and for what you do. And,
Thank you for having us.
and we are going to have the tour in French. We talked about that in the past. Miss Mavis, you and I were talking about that the other day about Miss Gagné and Miss Julie Olivier. They would give the tours in French. So we'd like to, you know, resurrect that and have it done again. They teach 3 levels of French at this school, so we want to make sure that the students understand the possibilities. And I know Charles is here for the Codafil, but we want to make sure that they know what they can do with that French after they have learned that beautiful language. So that's what it's about, bringing all these partners together, okay, building that creative place. Thank you. Okay, we will continue. We're a little ahead of time. Do you want to take a break? Do we need a break? Have a little break? Please, thank you.
Okay, we're going to get started. Don't walk in. I met Dane, well, I knew Dane since he was a baby because he and my son went to school together. So, official capacity was August 23rd, 2013. Dane emailed me, he wanted some banners because he was throwing he was funding it himself, cleaning up trash bash on Pataterie, and the Pine Leaf Boys were playing after the Tesh Fest, and he needed some banners to publicize it. So he said, I've been trying to call the Tesh Project. So I said, well, Blake's going to law school now. I said, you know, you need to talk to Patty Holland. She'll return your call. And Dane was born into the Tesh Project. Next time I talked to him, he was on the board of directors. So they saw a good thing, walk through the front door. So Dane is kind of the environmental guy. He's the cleanup guy. If they're cleaning up the Pataterie, Dane's going to be in the boat. Dane's going to be the one pulling the refrigerator behind his boat, you know, to go get it. And he's big on social media. So anytime you see a post from the Tesh Project on Instagram or Facebook, it's Dane that has taken the initiative to do that. Now, Dane is having his second child in July, so we're looking for another Dane Thibodeau to emerge from this. So, if you have any
We need a phoenix.
yeah, Dane is willing to train. So Dane's going to talk about the national waterway that we have, the award-winning MAP project, Tesh, and the Eucharist procession. So, you want to enlighten us with your
enlightenment. Well, bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Dane Thibodeau. Je représente le Tesh Project. C'est une organisation qui a sauvé la culture, héritage et langue de Bayou Tesh. Hi, my name is Dane Thibodeau for you non-French speakers. I'm representing the Tesh Project. Tesh Project stands for Tesh Ecology, Culture, and History Education Project. So of all those things, there's a lot of action going on. The Tesh Project started back in 2008. Before I was involved, it was a group out of Arnaudville that was sitting on the porch one day. We were drinking some beer, not me, but they were, and they were just talking about how trashed up the bayou was and how much people weren't respecting this waterway that brought our Acadian heritage and our Acadian ancestors up here. So the Tesh Project was born. Started off as a trash pickup organization, and that morphed into a fully 360 organization that does anything that having to do with the bayou, having to do with culture, having to do with the history, ecology, educating the public about what the bayou is and what it does for our community. Now it's the only national water trail in Louisiana. It's one of 22 in the country. So we got this cool designation as a national water trail. This is from the Department of the Interior, so it's directly from the White House. It's under the National Park Service, so that's a pretty cool thing to have. With that designation, it's a non-regulatory designation, meaning that anyone that lives along the bayou, there's no regulations that go along with it. It's just a name designation. But for that name designation, we're getting people from all over the globe to come and paddle and explore our most historically significant waterway in Louisiana. It's the longest bayou in Louisiana, and Dr. Shane Bernard just finished writing a book about the Teche and about its historic value. So if that's something you're interested in, I can direct you to his book. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you know Dr. Shane Bernard, he's written multiple books about the Cajun culture and Cajun heritage. So now he's turned his sights on the Bayou Teche. And he helped us out tremendously with our paddle trail map that Ms. Dona was just talking about. So we do have a paddle trail map, and we're currently sold out. So I don't know if that's a good thing, but you know, a lot of people have been buying it. So we're in the process of doing a reprint right now. So as soon as I get some more, I'll make sure to distribute those out to you. So on the front side of the map is your basic paddle trail map with the different amenities. We have different places where you can stop, where you can have food. So if you're not aware of where the Bayou Teche starts, it starts in Port Barry, where it meets the Bayou Catawba. So if you're not familiar with waterways, no waterway in Louisiana or in the Mississippi Delta flows naturally. So water is pumped out of the Atchafalaya River into the Bayou Catawba. The Catawba now flows backwards, dumps into the Teche, which flows down. Right here, Bayou Fugely is the first exit that feeds Bayou Vermilion. Then it goes further south, then it exits again at Ruth Canal, where it also feeds into the Vermilion. Then it stopped at the Keystone Lock and Dam, which is the oldest functioning lock and dam in the Mississippi Delta. You don't get more authentic than that. Then south of the Keystone, then you get into Iberia Parish and St. Mary Parish, where it becomes the lower Atchafalaya, where it becomes a huge river system. So up at the top in Port Barry, it's narrow and shallow. Down in St. Mary in Berwick, it's massively, I mean, it's huge across, and it's fairly deep. So you get a lot of different ways of usage along the bayou. So down further south in St. Mary, we like to promote the business that's down there. There's a lot of shipbuilders and boat builders, so a lot of people like to come and tour those boat building facilities. Metal Shark Boats, Mr. Jimmy Garbo is on our board of directors. He just built 3, well, he has a contract for 6, but he just finished 3 huge catamaran ferry boats for New York City. He also builds boats for the Coast Guard and other big ticket items, but that southern part of the bayou is very much industrialized. So as you're traveling north on the bayou, you see the changes in how people use the bayou. So down there, you'll see that a lot of the front doors, the front porch and everything faces the bayou. And the further you go up, that all turns around, so the back door faces the bayou. So you can just mentally and psychology know how it's treated. So if you're looking at the front door, if you're looking at the front of your house, you're going to keep it cleaner than maybe the back door. So the North Teche is our big trash problem, where you get refrigerators and hot water tanks and bags of trash. And I'm 52 tons in that. Since 2008, 52 tons of garbage and debris has been removed from the bayou. Everything from a tennis shoe, long fluorescent light bulbs, bags of trash, refrigerators, hot water tanks. We pulled out 2 cars in Landry. You know, it's amazing the things we pull out of that bayou. And we want to promote this waterway as a national water trail. And we want to get these people to come from all over the world and put them on the bayou, and yet we're going to see a refrigerator floating down the bayou. And those things don't just happen to fall out of the back of a truck when you drive it, like a styrofoam cup or a can. We pulled out refrigerators that have been duct taped and just thrown in there. So it blows my mind to see, the first interstate highway, the Louisiana was built on these water systems. So from the Mississippi and the Red River and the Chafalaya and the Bayou Teche, the reason why we are here, right here today, is because of the waterway that's 100 feet away from us. So it's hugely important that we keep it historically authentic. And what is your definition of authentic? Because in St. Mary Parish, they've been building boats for hundreds of years. So when you see something new and something exciting coming up that's maybe more modern, but it still has that authentic feel to it. So up here in St. Landry Parish and St. Martin, we're building trailheads that we've been working with UL to put these trailheads out on the bayou. And as we build these trailhead facilities, we want to match the architecture that's happening in the town. So in St. Landry, we'll probably have a shotgun style facility for restrooms and things like that. In St. Martin, where we just finished building our first official trailhead with the help of St. Martin Parish Tourism and the state and UL and all these different partners that come in and give us this funding, over $250,000 worth of funding to put a trailhead facility. It's built as an Acadian style house, so trying to keep our trail as authentic as possible along the bayou, not just building a concrete cinder block restroom. So the more pride we put into our facilities, the better they are treated by the public, and so they don't become those eyesores that some parks have problems with. So the map did win an award. It's in the Library of Congress right now. It won the most. It won first place in the recreational map. So it's two-sided. On the front, like I said, is your basic travel map, and on the back, with the help of Dr. Shane Bernard, is a historical map. So at each location on the bayou, you'll see little blurbs that talks about a Civil War battle that was fought, or a sunken boat, or why this town was built here. Or it's absolutely amazing. So it goes along with Dr. Shane's book about the Teche. So it's really interesting to see as you paddle through the bayou. You're basically paddling back in time whenever you're going on the bayou, because you can visually see, especially when you come to parts that are wooded and that some people might find unattractive because of the trees and the brush and the weeds and everything. In my opinion, that's the most beautiful part of the bayou. You can see what it could have felt like, 250 years ago when our ancestors paddled up the bayou and said, yes, this is where I want to live. I want to live here, and I want to settle, and that's the reason why we're here today. So taking that passion for the bayou, Teche Project and Tour de Teche kind of spurred at the same time. So Tour de Teche started right around the same time the Teche Project did. Starting in Port Barry, 135 miles to Berwick is a 3-day race. So if anyone has ever seen, everybody knows about the Tour de Teche? Yeah, cool with that? So that's been going on for a while now, and 2 years ago was the first time that they introduced the Tour de Louisiane. So now we start all the way in Shreveport and we end up in Berwick, 410 miles. You have to be a special breed of person to do that kind of thing. I can't do that. But sticking on the track of authenticity, we have multilingual maps, we have multilingual brochures, our kiosks that we're going to put at our trailheads are multilingual. And it's not just English and French, but we're going to put Chitimacha on there, we're going to put Spanish on there, we're going to put German, because all of these different cultures make up what Acadiana is. You know, it's not just English, it's not just French. We've had this, you know, this gumbo of culture that has made Acadiana what it is, so we want to highlight all of those different points. So at our different trailheads, we're going to not only make the facility as authentic to the architecture that's been previously there, but the languages that were originally spoken there. So we're going to try to keep that going. A couple of years ago, we were contacted with St. Martin de Tours. They wanted to do a procession down the bayou that went along with the Acadian arrival. So we started a procession from Leonville all the way down to St. Martinville. It took all day, but you had the Eucharistic procession on a boat, and you had all these different boats that followed along. It was hundreds of people, and every time we stopped, we had a different, you know, we said a little part of the rosary. And so keeping that Catholic tradition, that authentic Catholic tradition alive in Louisiana and on the bayou is another thing that we're trying to promote. But like I said, National Water Trail is the only one in Louisiana. So trying to get people out and to know that. So that's my biggest thing. It's like I want the tourism directors and I want Louisiana. I want a billboard. I want commercials. We need to get these people that are coming from out of country to know that this bayou is, you know, the reason why we're here. The reason why you're coming to eat this delicious food. The reason why you're coming to see the music, and the reason why you're experiencing what you're experiencing is because of the bayou, and the bayou brought the people here. You know, it wasn't the other way around. So we need to really focus on turning our eyes back to the bayou, and that's this whole idea that the Tesh Project is doing with this Tesh Renaissance, bringing back your eyes to the bayou and focusing that. You know, the bayou was here a long time before us. It was an ancient waterway of the Mississippi. So there's huge amounts of history that goes back further than we can ever imagine. You know, it was by chance, really, that the bayou was there and that we were able to settle this area. So if you want to say, you know, being authentic, there's nothing more authentic than that brown waterway just across the street. You know, that's what makes this area special. So I want to work with you, and I want you to work with me to promote this thing. We have people from around the world that are interested in paddling. We have a new outfitter that's coming in. We have Swamp Base that's here. We have a lot of people that's turning their attention back to the bayou. So my goal is to make this thing a true national water trail where we have people coming from around the globe just to paddle this bayou, and then through the help of the tourism directors and places like NUNU's that can say, all right, you're here, especially when St. Luke's is up and running, because I have 100% confidence that this thing is going to be going on, you know, that says, all right, well, you're here, let me show you what it was really like to come up the bayou in a pirogue. Let me show you what it was like for these Acadian ancestors that met up with the Chitimacha and the Takapaw and say, you know, this is what it was like. You want authenticity? Get on the bayou and see what it's like. Now the refrigerators and the hot water tanks, that all needs to go. But I'm happy to say that those big ticket items I'm not seeing as much of those. So through help from different organizations, we're able to, you know, educate the public and say, you know, this is our bayou. It's not a ditch. It's not a garbage dump. You know, this is our historic waterway. It's a national water trail. Let's treat it as such. So I am open for suggestions from y'all, and I hope that y'all can hear me out and say, you know, we are a nonprofit 501c3, so most of you know what that definition means. It means we're poor. So we work on, you know, volunteer time and donations, and you know, getting people out on the water is what makes our organization grow. So through help of every single one of you in this room, hopefully, you know, when you're thinking of, hey, what can I do to promote my area, send them over here and we'll help them out. And send them to the Bayou Tesh Outfitters, and send them to Cajun Paddle down in Brobridge, and send them to Swamp Base. get them out on the water. If you want authenticity, put them on the water, because that's how we got here in the first place.
I want a billboard too, so.
I want commercials.
We all want
I want-
billboards and commercials.
I want it all. We can do it though.
You're not there yet.
We can do it. I mean, we can do it, especially with the help of AOC and things like that. I mean, it just takes, what do we want to do? It's the only national water trail in Louisiana. There's 22 in the country. We're number 17. We got to do it.
Yeah, we'll have a meeting, me, you, and Celeste, and Frank.
Love
and
meetings.
Karen.
Any questions for?
Any questions?
Did I hit all my points? I don't know. Did I hit them? All right, good. I'm a teacher, so it's hard for me to stop talking.
You did great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon. That's great. And, it's base.
Yes, sir. Dane, would you tell us what you do professionally other than clean up the bayou?
I'm a teacher at Cecilia High School. I teach civics and government to sophomores. So that's what I do in my real time. So everything that I'm doing now is all volunteer work. No one's getting paid for pulling up 52 tons of garbage. No one's getting paid to promote. My wife is getting tired of me, all that good stuff. So all the social media, like Miss Dona was saying, that's all me. I try to be as incognito as possible. So yet the other day I actually had to say happy birthday to myself, which was kind of, my wife was laughing at me and said, I can't believe you're going to wish yourself happy birthday on the Bayou Tesh website. Yes, ma'am.
I whispered to Mavis, I said, I think he needs a little more authentic enthusiasm.
Yeah, and speaking, I'm a Thibodeau A-Bear Broussard, so I don't know how much more authentic you get right
That's the
there.
real deal.
Yes,
Cheryl.
ma'am.
I just want to share with people those things about Dane that has been really important about what he's doing, but is important, but it's how he's doing it. And what I've been able to experience with Dane over the years is, I'll give you one example, is he and I went for a visit out to the St. Landry Parish solid waste. And he wanted to see what they were doing with capturing their methane gases, just their process of how they deal with waste out there. And one thing that he said that day that has stuck with me, because I really never talked about it in these terms, is that he works with his students with the sense of, hey, go throw that away. What's away? What does away mean? You're not really throwing it away. And has really worked with those students on understanding that this is a process, so that they really value what waste means. And if you toss something on the sidewalk, but especially when you just throw it in the garbage can, it's not done there. And for me, even though I know it's not, I never spoke in those terms or thought about it that way. And I can give you all kinds of examples of what Dane has done in those ways, but what makes him so good is how he teaches about a process of something. It's just not the fact, it's the process of what brings that to life or how something works. So I really wanted to share that with people because that's something very unique to him.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, whenever I speak to young children, especially when we do little festivals or everything, I have a trash board that tells you how long each individual piece of trash will last if you just throw it on the ground. And their eyes light up when you tell them that it's going to take 2+ years for an orange peel to go away. I've had the same little piece of orange peel on my board for 2 years, and it's still there. That soda can, that plastic water bottle, I see an Nalgene, I see glass, there's no styrofoam here. When you say throw it away, it just becomes somebody else's problem. It's not, and that's kind of the psychology that we have to do especially when we find whole garbage bags in the bayou. We work very hard with St. Martin Parish to make it mandatory curbside collection. That just in itself stopped a lot of the problem. So if we can change the mindset of, I have this problem, now I don't have the problem anymore. You know, if we change it and say, well, I have the problem, I don't want to make it somebody else's problem, let's dispose of it properly, because we're always going to have garbage, we're always going to have those things. But the mentality of, well, this, I no longer have use for this particular object, let me just get it out of sight, out of mind, and then it becomes my problem 5 miles later when I got to pick it up. You know, so it never goes away. It never goes away, it just becomes somebody else's problem.
I'm laughing because since they introduced it to Parish Law, my mother goes around stealing other people's recyclables so she can fill her closet.
Yeah.
So maybe she's going with
We're definitely going in the right direction. I mean, we are, I mean, from the amount of trash that we picked up in 2009 to the amount of trash that we picked up last year has dropped significantly. I don't know if that's because I haven't been out on the water as much, but the big ticket items, the refrigerators and the hot water tanks have gone down, but that all comes back to people going out on the bayou, and people that live on the bayou see all these paddlers back and forth. You know, we have restaurants that have moved to the bayou. We have a brewery that now has a dock that says, hey, come to the brewery by boat. We have outfitters that are popping up. You know, people are turning their attention back to the bayou, and that's exactly what we want to do. We want to get back to that authentic,
Excellent.
tourist stuff.
Thank you. Good. Great. Good things. Now we're going to turn to, thank you Dane for being here. He's on holiday right now because as I said, he's a teacher, but we got him up early. That's good. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Well, the next type of tourism that we're going to focus on is culinary tourism. And obviously, I'm sure you would agree, and it's very obvious that our research shows that that's the #1 reason that people come to Louisiana is because of our food. And they want that authentic taste of what we know so, and to love so dearly, like Sister Mora's cooking, and also culinary tourism. So today we brought before us to discuss that. But I do want to say, and he wasn't reading my notes, but you know, we often refer to our culture as being like a gumbo. So we know that with our Cajun, our Creole, our German, Italian, Jewish, and First American influences, First Nation influences rather, it is so true. We are like a huge gumbo, and it's so reflected in what we eat. And someone that's very familiar with keeping things authentic and what she does on a day-to-day basis is our next panelist. It's Chef Maureen Little with Virtual Bistro Catering. Maureen is from St. Landry Parish. She has primary training has been in French, Creole, and Italian cuisine. She's worked in numerous restaurants like Louis XV, Le Pavillon, and Bravo Italian Kitchen. And in addition, she's also trained with the top pastry chef, Nicholas Lodge, who was the former chef to Buckingham Palace. That's pretty impressive, and a big pastry person. She started her catering company back in 1998, and it was in New Orleans, and she later was in North Carolina. And then in 2005, she came back to St. Landry Parish, and she's a native of Lautelle, Louisiana. And she's had some great experiences and opportunities, and I'm going to let her talk about that with you, about some experiences that she's had because of her culinary passion and what she does for that industry. So we welcome this morning still Chef Maureen Little. So Chef, do you want to start out by telling us a little bit about, well first of all, I see that your background was actually, she went to school, she was in architecture. So how did you get into culinary? How did that happen?
Well, first I want to say, je m'appelle Chef Maureen Little. That includes my French-speaking portion. That's about all the French I know. It all started, I was the drafting coordinator for the University of New Orleans several years ago. And one day, I attended architecture at UL, it was USL back then. And one day I decided I wanted to be a chef. And I called my parents and I told them, and they were very upset. Very, very upset, because finally I was working in my field, and here all of a sudden I decided I wanted to switch gears. And the program was a 3-year program, and by the time I finished, I was only 32. And a very good friend of mine said, well, in 3 years, you're still going to be 32. Do something that you want to enjoy. And I got started in food, and I haven't looked back. I enjoy it, and because of my passion for food in Louisiana and the culture here, it's brought me all over. Mainly because of something that I partnered with George years ago. Back in 2009, I had the opportunity to go to French Guyana, where I taught the Creoles there how to prepare food like the Creoles here. That was pretty amazing. It started with a culinary festival around the culinary world, and it's based on a children's book that I wrote that has not been published because I haven't finished illustrating it. But it was about a little boy who taught his mom, or got his mom to cook food from a different country every Thursday night. And he would do like a little research paper on the country while his mom would prepare food. And it happened on Thursday. The dad, he would come home and help with decorating the living room to whatever country they're in. And I mentioned this story to George, and George, 6 months later, I forgot I even had the conversation with him. 6 months later, he said, hey, let's do a food festival. And I'm thinking, hey, what's that? You know? And we started talking, and we developed around the world culinary world tour. And each night we had a different chef from this area representing different countries. And they showed how they tied in the food to Louisiana, to their food, their culture. And from that, I wound up going to an event in Lafayette. I was trying to promote the event. They asked us, could you later do one for French-speaking countries or French regions of France? And we did one, and I went there with the tickets. And the reception, I talked my mom into coming. And at the reception, everyone there spoke French. It's just primarily what they did. And I talked to her to come with me because I don't speak French. And she's a French teacher. I know, shame on me, I know. And I see this entourage of this guy. I was like, who is he? I didn't know who he was. And he had like 12 people walking behind him. And I pointed him out to my mother. And I started telling this lady about my culinary world tour and what we were doing in Arnaudville and what was happening at NUNU's and George Marks, and she was just smiling at me. And then she started telling me in French, would you be interested in coming to my country? And I'm pointing to my mom, like, I don't know what she's saying, but come here quick, it sounds interesting. So my mom comes over, and she tells him in French, well, I don't know if she needs any help, but I'll go and carry her bags. And they start laughing and still don't know what they're talking about. But at this point, the lady took my information, and a few weeks later, she calls me, and I tell her, hold on, let me get my mom on three-way, and my mom said they want to send you to French Guyana. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she was serious. So my mom came with me as well as my dad, and I taught Creole cooking there. And I also participated in a culinary festival, and they had different chefs with French-speaking chefs from around the world that were there. So basically, I guess we said I represented the United States in this event, so that was pretty cool. To be sort of an ambassador to the food here in Louisiana. I enjoyed it, and by the third day, my mom was screaming in French, so it was pretty cool. It was pretty interesting.
That's great. What a great opportunity.
Yes.
And you did that so well. So you have been an ambassador in many ways during your career. I know you've also done a lot. You've done a pilot you did on for TV, 2 Creole Women.
2 Creole Women, myself and another caterer. They asked whether or not we could, George was saying, French consulate said they were kind of interested in us doing a pilot, but they wanted us to speak French to, I guess, maybe have it shown in French-speaking countries, or, I wasn't quite sure what was going on with that because I don't speak French, and I asked Joella, the other caterer, and she said the only French words she knew were curse words, so I thought, well, that's not going to help. That's not going to help any. But we shot a pilot called 2 Creole Women, and we would basically talk about the food and culture of Louisiana. would explain. I was explaining from my grandmother's point of view, and she was explaining from her mother's point of view. And we would describe, because I went to culinary school, she did. I would talk about technical aspects as to why something was being done or how it was being prepared. And she would talk about her reason for it being done a certain way, rustic-wise. You know, here in Louisiana, there's no two gumbos that are the same. From household to household, you know, just about from parish to parish, or from North Louisiana to South Louisiana. So the food here is unique to Louisiana in itself, but from place to place, here it's completely different. The Cajun gumbo opposed to Creole gumbo, you know. But it's allowed me to, like I said, a self-proclaimed ambassador, if you will, to show people what we have to offer. People come here and they get married in New Orleans or in South Louisiana, Acadiana area, and then they go back to where they're from and they miss the food or something. And they're like, man, I remember the crawfish etouffee, it was amazing, you know. So it's helped me to get our word out about our food and our culture. So it's
Yeah, and you were just sharing with me, you have a gig in June or something?
In June, at the end of June, a couple contacted me and asked if I would fly to New Jersey to do a Louisiana culinary feast for a 50th birthday party. Of course I'm going to say yes. I said, yes, I would love to. And the couple is from New Jersey, but they live here now. And she wanted her family and friends to experience the food of Louisiana and, you know, bona and everything else. I have an aunt that's in the military. She lives in Virginia. She called me 2 days ago with this excitement that she found andouille sausage there. And she tried to get the butcher to tell her where's he getting it from. Because they get it from Louisiana, but they repackage it in their stores. But she said she was so happy and excited that she was able to find andouille. And she said it tasted like her grandmother. So I thought that was amazing.
See, I love that. So, you know, what an opportunity about how because of her efforts traveling around the world and in the United States, just to share what we're about, she's sending people our way because they want to come here and taste it authentically and firsthand for themselves. So that's a good partnership that we have with our food industry. You know, being in say Landry and say Martin parishes, we're in the middle of so many production facilities with the spices and the roux and all the different things, the cooking oils that we make. We were talking about the bacon jam, you know, they're packaging up there. So, you know, just different things that we take for granted every day, we use every day, but for other people it's a big find if they can find that literally in their respective grocery stores, wherever they may be living. We were talking about we're so fortunate that you do have the opportunity to cook with, you know, your grandmother or observe her, actually. Yes. Because we were talking about the phrase how from farm to table has, you know, really gotten to be such a buzz thing lately. But one of our quotes that we use in our marketing, Willie Burson over at Super at NUNU always says, you know, we did farm to table before it was even cool. You know, we've been doing that all along. That's all we know, you know. So with all the gardens and things, and I know you always do use such fresh things. And in fact, one of our first opportunities to meet with the French counselor, with Gregor, she catered a luncheon that we did, and he was just so blown away by the meal that she prepared and just the presentation and her love and her passion for it. So that was a great opportunity. And you know, we say that we don't speak French, but we do know a lot more French words than we realize. You know, it's every day. So we have to get away from saying that I don't speak French. You understand it, like I understood dang what you said, everything. So we have the ear for it.
I'm able to understand it. I can read it, but that's to tell you exactly what I'm reading. I can pick up a few words here and there.
That's right. Well, look, I want you to show us today some of the things that you're working on now. She's a very talented person, and look at these adorable Louisiana cookies. How about that? One of a kind. I think those may be headed to Baton Rouge. It's been promised to the Lieutenant Governor for a little bit, but she does some great work. And beautiful talent. Great.
It says come eat on it.
Oh, it does come in cute.
Does it Marsa? Marsa.
Well, thank you, Maureen, for being here, for everything that you do to keep what we know as authentic cooking here and our recipes alive and share them properly. You know, I think we all cringe when we see these places that are called, you know, they say they're a Cajun restaurant, but they're like in, you know, Washington, Montana. And, oh my gosh, you know. It may be a good one, but anyway.
Friend of mine,
Yeah.
friend of mine's in Boston right now visiting back home, and she just sent me a picture of Cajun meatloaf. I was like, what is that? You put pepper on it and you call it Cajun? Like, sorry.
It's not.
But that goes to show that through the food, everywhere around the country wants to be just like us.
Yes.
You know, so they're like, well, they come here, they visit, and they're like, well, I can do that back home and make a ton of money on it. But, you know, but it gets those, yeah, it gets those people to come back here and say, well, this is what it's really supposed to be.
Very good.
Celeste.
Thank you. Yes.
Before you can go to Brandon.
Yes.
So one thing I keep hearing over and over.
Not here, you take
Speak
the
on, please. Speak into the mic, Mrs. Lawrence.
So one thing I keep hearing over and over and over again is how great everything is, right, in Louisiana. We know that, right? But how are we maintaining it? What are we doing to support the efforts of the TESH project? You know, or for people like Maureen, who basically is a culinary ambassador, you know, traveling around the state. Or Sacred Heart. What are we doing to really encapsulate all that? And what are we doing to leverage all of these groups? Because I could see Sacred Heart working with you guys. And working with NUNUs and other organizations around this, you know, around the state. So,
I mean, it could be a whole big process where, from my perspective, from my standpoint, if we have a student group from Sacred Heart paddle on the bayou, stop somewhere and grab some food, you know, then you hit all those three together. Go to St. Landry and learn how to make a frottoir. You know, I think every single one of us on this panel, and I've yet to know what you're going to talk about, but I know that it's going to be something awesome that we can jump into. You know, I think every single person in this room has connections with every single other person in this room, so that's where we need to make it.
but there's the connectivity of what we're doing, but how do we support those efforts? I mean, like for you guys, like you need people to help clean the bayou, basically the front of the house. How do we maintain the front of the house? Maureen should speak French.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And she should, because she is doing what she's doing, she should be enrolled in a French program, and it should be paid for her. You know, that's what I'm talking about. How do we, you know, maintain the front of the house? How do we welcome tourists that are coming in? Because I'm going to say this, we have hundreds, if not thousands of tourists that come into NUNUs every year from all over, mostly from France, a lot from Canada. And the one thing that they say, as wonderful as it is that the French piece is missing. This event is an example of that. You know, we're doing everything in English. We're talking, you know, and we're talking about how important the French piece is, yet we're not really embracing it to its fullest capacity. And so I think that's an important thing. I think we need the frottoir. I mean, that comes out of, you know, a French Creole, right? So that's all I have to say. You know, just,
well, I mean,
I think we need to think about that. We need to think about those things.
Well, it's definitely an education piece. I mean, there was even talk about getting rid of the French immersion program in Sicilia, and I was like, oh no, that's not going to happen. You know, I would like to promote a French immersion high school and then jump into St. Luke's. You know, but again, it's all up here. You know, my dad spoke French, but I didn't. So it's a historical boundary. It's a bridge that was burnt in the 20s. That was tried to be rebuilt in the 70s through the efforts of Codeville. That, I mean, you lost a whole generation of native French speakers. So, I mean, we're talking about massive amounts of rebirth of this French movement, which I think is happening. But yeah, right. I mean, it's a generational gap that is a piece of the puzzle that will never be brought back. So
But we have cultural ambassadors
right.
all over the state. We have musicians, we have visual artists, we have culinary artists, we have scientists, we have all of these people that are in place. In a lot of times they're volunteering. They're giving their time, like you are, to really make something happen. The least we can do is to help, prepare the front of the house so that when tourists are coming in, we can receive them in French, and we can provide services to them in French.
It was amazing when we came a couple years ago, and we were able to speak with all the mayors from all the French-speaking cities. And I met the mayor of Paris, and I was able to communicate with her in French. But I did that I had to go to St. Anne's in Canada twice so that I can pick up something that my dad should have been able to teach me. But again, that's going to take a full. I don't even know where to start with that one.
Okay, we want Felicia.
I just wanted to say this because it's really important about the front of the house and speaking French. Because as a B&B owner, we're kind of like on the front line. And one of the things people always ask is, where can I hear French? Where can I hear people speaking French? The book on Louisiana that I have that is absolutely fabulous. It has actually French phrases and all. It's right there all the time. We have a lot of people from Belgium and France and Canada ourselves. And the Jean Lafitte Centers, I know that at 1 o'clock on Saturday, I know that here at NUNU's, there's different Cajun table, Temps Francais. Temps Francais, listings of Temps Francais would be fabulous that we could have a little link to on our website. So that way we always know where you can hear French. At least you can sit down and, I don't know if that's a good idea, not.
Yeah.
But it's something week to week. I can't tell them. I don't know. I said, well, I know at McDonald's in the morning at 6 o'clock on Saturday. There's a bunch of guys that speak French.
All the travel consuls at the Global Tourist Center.
I'm sorry, what?
All the travel consuls at the Global Tourist Center speak French.
Yeah. And we have, and what we've tried to do to address that is we have our tour guide in French as well. And it's on our website that you can access it. It's all on Francais. And there is a list on CajunTravel.com. It says Le Temps Francais, and if you click on it, it's got the schedule of all the where you can find it. So we refer to our websites, which is a good reference. And I know Dona's got one too, CajunCountry.org. So we have that. Okay, we have one more presenter, and we're really excited to hear this because we're going to go back to our ecotourism genre, if you will, and we're so happy to welcome Brandon. As I mentioned earlier, he's kind of the newer kid on the block, for us at least, and we are so happy that he's chosen to live in Cecilia, in St. Martin Parish. Brandon he creates transdisciplinary artworks inspired from his ecological field and laboratory research. He's published a book, and the title was Malin. Is that right? Malin? Malin. Okay, The Occurrence of Deformities in Amphibian and the Solo Exhibition, which also, and he had a solo exhibition at the Royal Institute in Great Britain in 2010. And I believe we're going to be expecting an exhibit soon. It'll be here in Lafayette. We hopefully, we're working on that, so we will see him. And in doing my research for his presentation, he's some beautiful work. He takes his work of being a biologist and transforms it into beautiful works of art, while still getting the message across about what's happening to our environment and the concerns that we might have and all the positives that we have and what we can offer. So today we're gonna, he's gotten national awards. I shouldn't just skim over this, but in 2011 he was awarded a Conservation Leadership Fellowship from the National Audubon Society's Together Green program. He has a PhD in transdisciplinary art and biology from Plymouth University in the UK, in association with Zurich University of the Arts and Applied Sciences in Switzerland. He was a recipient of a fellowship from the New York Foundation for the Arts, and he's most recently been named a 2017 Smithsonian Artist Research Fellow. He's currently doing his postdoctoral research in Biological Sciences Department at the Louisiana State University, which is funded by the National Academy of Sciences. And he's studying the impact on fishes from the 2010 Gulf oil spill. I mentioned already that he's a resident of Sicilia with his wife Aurora, and she's a native of France and has a big culinary background from what I understand. And they have a really cute little guy, you can tell me his name? Victor, who stood in testimony recently in one of our St. Landry Parish Council meetings when we were doing our policy about St. Luke's. And he stood up there, he's this high, he's precious, and he spoke to them in French and just blew them away. And we have a 9-week-old Lily who's joined us as well. So Brandy's going to tell us about a great idea that he has. It's a work in process, and he's also founded a nature education reserve that I hope he tells us a little bit about too today. So without further ado, okay, great. Yep, can we turn those lights on? Great. So I hope you help me in joining Brandon in this presentation. Brandon, thank you.
Is this one on? Yeah, that's it. Okay, I have a request just to start with. What about everybody in the back? Just come up, because I have pictures, so then you can see better. And then we can talk, because I'm going to ask you questions. Okay. I'm going to ask you questions, so come up if you don't mind. Just bring your chairs forward. Sorry to put you on the spot, but we're almost ready for lunch, and it's the only way I'm going to be able to compete with this food anyway. Grandpa, try not to. So if you wouldn't mind, it's great to be here. It's great to be part of this event, and I've found it already like super inspirational, and I keep thinking about all these. I keep writing notes because I think all these millions of things that we could connect together. And my wife and I have only been in this community. We've been visiting this community for about 1.5 years, and we bought a little place between Sicilia and Arnaudville, and it's an old farm that was kind of empty for about 10 years. And we're trying to fix that up. It's got a little bit of acreage into a little nature reserve and nature center where we want to do dual language nature courses. So environmental courses, farm disabled stuff, but not just teach everything ourselves, actually use it as a venue for people to bring groups of students to camp there, stay there. I can do nature and stuff, my wife will do food stuff, but we want to invite in all the local talent to work with you too. So hopefully a way to kind of connect kids with nature again. And get them interested in both languages. I'm horrible at holding microphones. Anyway, so we're calling that the Atelier de la Nature. I'm terrible at French. My 2 worst classes in high school were chemistry and French. So I married a French and I do chemistry all the time. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this kind of crazy idea that I think could kind of work to some level about somehow making Louisiana the Costa Rica of the USA. And I'll talk to you about what I mean and kind of what these comparisons are. But before I start talking about ecotourism, I just want to ask you all a question. What do you think ecology is? I know you haven't eaten, but you haven't recaffeinated in a while.
Everything that has to do with the environment, everything that goes in to support it or to take away from, to track, nature.
Yeah, I think that's right. Anybody want to add to that?
Study of ecosystems.
Okay. And then what specifically in ecosystems? What about ecosystems?
Living things.
Living things and?
How they relate to each other.
Yeah, that connection.
How
One of the
relate
things
to
that
each other.
we keep coming up is this idea of connectivity, right? So taking different elements from our different cultural backgrounds, putting them together and seeing how that is very often, part of what makes the fabric of this community. But in science, typically, ecology is all about the study of those relationships between ecosystems, environments as a whole, and in little parts, and all the participants in those ecosystems. Just as we're all players in this community, we're all parts of this ecosystem, this cultural ecosystem, right? And I like this term ecology was invented by a hybrid artist-biologist in the 19th century named Ernst Haeckel. And he got the term from the Greek word for home. So oikos, or ecos, is really the study of our home. So of course that's kind of what we're all wanting to do, is to figure out how to make our home sustainable and how our home is really working. So ecotourism then. Anybody think you want to guess what ecotourism is?
Using nature as a tourist destination.
Using nature as a
Tourist destination.
That's right, tourist destination. What else? Anything else?
To experience a unique environment that might be elsewhere.
Often, experiential tourism. Sure.
Understanding it, having a tourism where you go in and you learn and you understand it.
That's increasingly like a huge part of it. And also connecting it back to conservation. Trying to make sure when you visit these places, you're not just going and taking pictures, you're making sure that you're putting resources, as a tourist, you're putting money back in that ecosystem, back in that culture, to make sure that those ecosystems stay protected, right? So it's kind of become this two-way street about going to local communities that have these natural resources, supporting those communities, and supporting that ecosystem. So there's a whole school of like ecotourist thought that's actually emerged everywhere, like all over the planet, to go to exotic places like India, Costa Rica. Slovenia has started this now. They're about 33% forest, and the government in Slovenia is actually paying farmers not to farm anymore because they realize they can make more money off of forests and tourism than they can off of conventional farming. And the farm-to-table thing is huge in Slovenia. So it's all this kind of connected idea that we want to celebrate these ecosystems we have. Now I'm going to bring the Smoky Mountain National Forest up for just a minute. Smoky Mountain National Park. How many folks have been there? More than half. So it's still the most visited national park in the United States, right? And so the Smoky Mountain National Forest was actually the inspiration for the whole thing that Costa Rica's done since the 1970s. In fact, what happened in the 1970s is two ecology students, I think one was an economist, one was an ecologist, from the University of San Jose in Costa Rica, went to the Smoky Mountain National Forest. They looked at what was happening there, and they said, okay, we've got to do this at home. And they did. They went back, they met with the president, they got the government involved, and they decided to set up this national park system, where in the Constitution since 1974, Costa Rica said 25% of our land is going to be nature reserve, and we're going to promote tourism. Now in the beginning, it was a crazy idea, but they went for it. So what's happened is over the years, now about 20% of the Costa Rican population works directly in ecotourism. So they have this whole network of national parks people can visit, and I'll show you some data on that in just a second. But it started off not that successful. In 1974, they had about 500, a little less than 500 visitors, and I'm sure a lot of people thought, why did we spend any money to try to get this going? But in 2015, 2.6, almost 3 million people visited Costa Rica for ecotourism. So it's clearly the largest eco-tourist business in the world, and there's impacts from that for sure. But there's still an awful lot of nature protection and a lot of money that's made for Costa Rican people. 2.8 billion and 600,000 jobs, right? So to give you an idea, Costa Rica has less than 20 million people, or less than 19,700 square miles, so I'm getting on some time. So to give you an idea, our state is twice that size, more than twice that size. Okay, our populations are roughly the same. So out of that protected land that's in their constitution, it's really somewhere between 20 to 25% that are protected. A lot of it's private land that's just used as nature reserve. But they have about 4,000 square miles. So look at us. We've got, almost 46,000 square miles in Louisiana. Our population, I said, is about the same. We actually have more protected land in our state than Costa Rica has. So just think about that for a second. We have more protected land. Are we on the eco-tourist global destination map? Why is that? Could we be? Now look at these are called eco-regions. So eco-regions is kind of a weird term. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically eco-regions are considered areas that have ecosystems of the same type and generally the same kind of abiotic stuff. In other words, the same kind of like material that's underneath, right? So look at the number of kind of major eco-regions in Costa Rica. Look at the ones in Louisiana. So you kind of see there's a little bit of similarity there as far as different types of ecosystems we have here. We always think of bayous and swamps and wetlands, which are an incredible part of our natural resource diversity. But we also have a lot of other things going on, including the last place that ivory-billed woodpeckers were confirmed to ever be seen alive in some old-growth forest, some of the last old-growth forests in the southeast in northwest Louisiana, or northwest, yeah. Okay, so Costa Rica, they have 19 national reserves or parks. So you can kind of see the way they did it, they're kind of scattered so that wherever you land in San Jose and then you travel to one coast and then you kind of circle around. If you do the whole country, you can do the whole country in about a week. Really, you can see about everything. If you're really driving, you can see the whole country in about 3 days, which would be hard to do in Louisiana, right, if we were traveling around. But look at the number of parks and preservation areas we have. So way more than 19. We've got 19 state parks, just state parks, plus our national parks, plus our wildlife management areas, which are enormous. They're huge spaces, plus private residences. People that just have land, kind of what we're trying to do with our land. We want to make that open to the public and let people come there and do nature trail walks and things like that. But look at the difference in money that we're making compared to Costa Rica. So, I mean, this is, to be fair, this is only from the national parks only. I couldn't find data on all that other stuff for visitors. But still, I mean, this is significant. We still had almost 500,000 people that came to these national parks. And we made a lot of money from it. But imagine what would happen if we start to look at what's really going on. So what do ecotourists do when they go to places like Costa Rica? Bird watching. Any bird watchers here? Are you a twitcher? Yeah? That's great. Have you gone to Costa Rica to bird watch? Anybody? Oh, that's what I meant to ask. How many people here have been to Costa Rica? What do you think?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty great. So bird watching. People spend a ton of money getting to Costa Rica to bird watch. So looking at beautiful creatures, right?
That's beautiful.
That's a indigo or a painted bunting. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Rosie and spoonbill. And so here's a really cool bird. This guy lives underwater, it basically swims underwater like a snake catching fish. So, I mean, we always think of ducks and things like that, or predatory birds like herons at the top. This guy swims underwater like a little shark or snake, and then stabs the fish with its sharp beak. Pretty wild. Isn't that beautiful? Indigo bunting. And amazing hummingbirds. Okay, so the crazy thing about these birds, these are all birds in Louisiana. They're not Costa Rican birds. I mean, they're birds that travel to Costa Rica often and will travel back or summer residence here. But we have an incredible amount of wonderful nature just right here. So I mean, we don't have to read all these statistics, but people in the U.S., 71 million Americans in 2006, I don't know what the statistics are now, this is from an old Fish and Wildlife report, spent $45 billion somehow related to wildlife watching. So again, imagine if you've gone to the Smokies or if you've gone to Costa Rica, one of the really great things they've done is all the park entrances have all these gift stores that have field guides, kind of like what they have in the Smokies. I think we need a lot more of that too. But they also have crafts from local people, whatever they're making. They're very proud of their Tican culture, of their local cuisine, of telling you what it means for them to be Costa Rican. The same way that I think we're very proud of what it means to be from Louisiana. So as far as birds, I have to admit Costa Rica beats us. They've got about 600 species. We only have 482. But that's still amazing. That's the highest in the United States as far as bird diversity. So, and no other state can claim to have as many species as us. So other things that we do with ecotourism, we kind of talked a little bit about this, but hiking, of course. Has anybody ever gone to the Dogwood Festival in the Smoky Mountain National Forest? Millions of people pile in. They literally, the cars, they can't get through. They're so packed in to see the dogwoods blooming. There's also a lightning bug festival. I mean, they've done an amazing job. They've done an amazing job at marketing those natural resources. And people come in and then they go to Dollywood. I mean, we kind of need our own Dollywood or something. But then they're staying and they're spending a lot of money. And how do we somehow capture that same thing? We have all these amazing resources. Has anybody ever seen a waterfall in Louisiana? How many? I mean, it's not the kind of thing immediately you think of, right? When you say Louisiana. I intentionally left out images of the fall from Mexico, which is a whole other thing we could be talking about too, of course. Or fall leaves. That's another festival they have in the Smokies. People go to look at the fall colors. Why don't we promote that too? And then, of course, different things like off-road biking, and then we've been talking a little bit about wetland excursions, right? So, I mean, I think this directly aligns in with, what you're talking about with Swamp Base and what you're doing with the Tesh Project. And what I would propose is people that are interested in these issues, maybe we immediately afterwards or at lunch talk about another meeting we could have to explore how we could network together, because I think that's just it. There's all this fantastic stuff, like in our backyard, but how do we kind of communicate collectively as a group, focused on this issue, and then get people excited about it outside of our community to bring them here just for this? Another thing is Toledo Bend. Folks been to Toledo Bend before? Pretty phenomenal. I mean, you look at, I'll go back to this, you can't really see the detail of that photograph, but there's nothing else like this on the planet. This is the largest wetland in North America. You can't just go to, you can go to India and you're going to see great stuff. You can go to Costa Rica, you're going to see really neat stuff. But we can go in our backyard and see this phenomenal ecosystem that doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. That's filled with all kinds of really interesting critters and plants, and is interwoven with our heritage. So other just kind of ecotourist stuff. Apparently there's a fly fishing society that's starting to form here. So that's catch and release, so that's another kind of ecosystem. If you look at Trout Unlimited, what they've done to spread knowledge of conservation and just the amounts that are generated for trout fishing, and these are people that are going all over the place. They're going to Chile, they're going to remote areas in Scotland to fly fish, to catch that fish, take a picture and let it go. So it's just like bird watching. There's even dragonfly watching clubs. So this is growing. Now, we have 118 species of odonates, dragonflies and damselflies. Again, among the highest diversity anywhere in the Americas. So again, that's a whole other niche I think that people would be interested in if we promote that. Frogs. I love frogs. I did my PhD on frogs. They're great critters. Again, reptiles and amphibians. We have a huge amount of diversity. So one of the things I'm already working on is a Save the Frogs eco tour, which we're supposed to do next June. So we'll see. It's different. It's not, we're seeking funds from an outfitting company to actually train 18 to 25-year-olds that are interested in amphibian conservation and then go around the state. So it's not like we're getting paid to do it. It's the opposite. We're trying to actually give people scholarships to take this experience. But you can totally do this. Eco tours in the bayous at night. And those things are kind of happening already. But it's a matter of trying to figure out how you can collect it together and network it. So again, I just think that we live in such a magnificent part of the world. How do we celebrate the natural history here that's really shaped cultures and shaped food, and vice versa, in the way that we're really so much more connected to the natural world here than many other people on this planet at this point. being in New York City for such a long time, my wife had a little girl that had never seen a blueberry in one of her classes. Like, she'd never seen a three-dimensional blueberry before. She's like, oh, that's what that is? She was afraid of it at first. She'd seen blue soda or something, but not a blueberry. So we're much more connected, and that's an incredible resource that we could share. So, I mean, these are just some of the things that immediately kind of popped in my head about what could happen and what's already happening. I mean, promoting ecological awareness, which is, exactly what you're trying to do, Dane. Conservation of natural resources, which many of us are trying to do. But it's also about the pride of this place. That's one of the things I said again, like when you go to Costa Rica, people are proud to talk about those forests. They're proud of their cloud forests. They're proud of their trogons, of their exotic birds. So that sense of, being proud of the natural history that's here, of the other organisms that are here. And it really is kind of a combination of recreation, experiential recreation, and education. But then there are all these other businesses that could come from that, like local jobs. One of the things that Costa Rica has done is they hire young people to become parataxonomists, meaning that they work for, they go out, they learn as much as they can without becoming scientists, but they learn about the natural history of all these different species, and then they lead tours. So you can imagine a generation of young people in Louisiana trained on the natural history that could go out and meet tourists and then take them on guided bird walks or fish walks. I haven't even talked about fish. There's so much diversity of fish. Over 10,000 species of aquatic organisms that we know of in the Gulf of Mexico alone. So all those things could be tapped into. And then new businesses, already like what is happening here in Arnaudville with mini houses. One of the things that when people with the eco-tourist mindset travel, they look for eco-lodging, or they look for homes that have less of a footprint, or they look for hotels that are doing things that promote sustainability, have their own nature reserves, for example. So again, things like Tony Adrian's Airbnb. Look at the way he's using recycled material, right? He's using these historic structures, he's recycling them, he's bringing them back, and he's creating kind of a very sustainable model for people to come visit Arnaudville. So how can you promote that and then support it? And then another thing that people, when they're traveling in this way, they like to know that they're supporting those ecosystems. So we know that in coastal Louisiana, we have this huge amount of money we have to raise to restore the coast. So why not let that be, say that businesses are going to donate 1% to that if you're signed up on an eco tour, or 10%. So people feel like they're contributing to an effort to save this place. So that kind of connectivity across the board. And I hope that you all are excited and you want to meet and talk about this, and we can figure out how to make Louisiana the next Costa Rica.
Thank you, Brandon. That was really interesting. I think it opened a lot of possibilities, and I'm really excited about some of the things that we've talked about today, and things that maybe you and I don't take into consideration daily, but that we have great possibilities of partnering, and that I think we've achieved creative placemaking today, definitely, by bringing together all these different entities and people that may not have known each other before and what they do, and see how we can work together to create, through the arts and culture, a more interesting and attractive venue. I want to thank Kyle. He's having to slip out, so thank you, Kyle, for being here with us today. Appreciate it very much. And made me think of, we have a lot of times in tourism, and Dona, I guess I'm speaking, we focus so much about bringing people in that we overlook the fact that we are not really maybe educating our locals about what there is to see and do, and a lot of times. And maybe, we're so immersed in it, we know what's happening and what's going on, what each of you are doing. But I think with the focus of the Office of Tourism this year about staycations and doing the Louisiana destination, making sure you do see our Louisiana tour guide that we work so hard on, because it is all about outdoorism and about the birding opportunities and things. And so I think that's probably the next step, as George was talking about. How do we make it happen? And we've got good products, but it's to package it correctly and to make sure that we are really implementing and putting our mouth where money where our mouth is,
And
if you
keep in
will.
mind, Celeste and I can't package, so it has to come from the businesses to package. You know?
We can help facilitate. She said we can't really package. We're not authorized to give preference over, like one business or one hotel over another. But we can facilitate that happening, and that's why we can promote it once it's in place, but we can't really put that together. Because, we have to stay pretty, diplomatic about things and how we do. I want to thank the sisters for being here from the Sacred Heart. Appreciate that. That's our new partner, Chef Little. Thank you for being here. Great. Dane, thank you for being here. For Tesh Project, you make us all want to go get out on the Tesh and paddle. And Dory and T-Don, thank y'all for being here as well. Appreciate that. Y'all, especially you for being here, joining us. And Brandon, thanks again. It's great, you have fresh eyes, and that's what we need a lot of times, is to see things in a different perspective and to remind us all the great things that we have to do and share here. And we couldn't